Have you ever seen something so perfect it almost feels fake? That's what China looks like right now. Shiny skyscrapers, silent megacities, billion-dollar tech zones, and trains that glide faster than planes. But what if I told you, beneath that spotless surface is one of the biggest financial illusions of our time? Here's the truth. China is sitting on $54 trillion in hidden debt. That's more than the GDP of the US, Germany, and Japan combined, and no one's really talking about it. Officially, China's debt looks under control, but behind closed doors, local governments are drowning in loans, shadow banks are gambling with public money, and real estate developers, once symbols of unstoppable growth, are now defaulting in silence, leaving behind ghost towers and broken promises. This isn't just an economic story, it's a high-stakes balancing act. And the world? We're all standing underneath it. Because when China sneezes, the global economy doesn't just catch a cold, it shivers. So let's pull back the curtain, because what you're about to learn might just be the biggest financial cover-up of the decade. Now here's something most people don't realize. China's growth model isn't just about money, it's about power. In China, economic success is directly tied to political success. If you're a local government official, hitting, or better yet, surpassing your GDP growth target isn't just good for your region, it's your golden ticket to a promotion. So what happens? Cities compete like crazy to look good on paper. They build airports no one flies from, shopping malls with no shoppers, and entire neighborhoods with zero residents, all to chase short-term numbers. It's a system that rewards growth at all costs, even if that growth is empty, literally. Here's where things get even murkier. Local government financing vehicles, or LGFVs. Sounds complicated, but think of them like secret credit cards local Chinese governments aren't supposed to have. See, in China, local officials can't legally borrow money or keep all the taxes they collect, but they still need cash, a lot of it, to hit those GDP goals. So they create these off-the-books companies, LGFVs, that borrow massive amounts of money using land as collateral. Then they pour that borrowed money into roads, stadiums, skyscrapers, even if no one needs them. The goal? Make it look like the economy is booming. In reality, they're just stacking debt on top of debt, hoping no one notices the cracks forming beneath it all. And then came the real estate gold rush. For years, building homes became China's go-to strategy for growth, fueled by state-backed projects, easy credit, and a deep cultural belief that owning property equals security. People poured their life savings into apartments, often buying 2 or 3, not to live in, but to invest. At its peak, nearly 70% of household wealth was tied up in real estate. But the boom wasn't built on real demand. It was built on hype. Today, China has over 65 million empty homes and more than 50 ghost cities, entire urban centers with roads, malls, and high-rises, but no people. It's like a movie set, impressive from a distance, hollow up close. And when prices started falling, it didn't just hurt investors, it shattered the financial foundation of millions of families. Then came the fall that shook the system. Evergrande. Once China's second largest property developer, it collapsed under a jaw-dropping $300 billion in debt, exposing just how fragile this real estate-fueled growth really was. Suddenly, the confidence cracked. Developers stopped buying land, the very thing that had kept local governments and LGFVs afloat. Without land sales, LGFVs started gasping for cash, and their debt ballooned to a staggering 60 to 66 trillion yen. That's $8 to $9 trillion, or nearly half of China's entire GDP. It was no longer just a real estate crisis. It was a full-blown systemic risk, rippling through government budgets, banks, and everyday lives. Faced with a looming crisis, Beijing stepped in. Carefully. They launched a debt swap program, converting hidden local debt into official government bonds. In other words, they made the invisible visible, without solving the root problem. Banks were told to slow down loan collections and lower interest for struggling regions. This gave local governments some air, but it didn't erase the debt. It just buys time, and time is running out. So why hasn't the whole thing come crashing down? Because the central government is still holding it together. Through restructuring, bailouts, and quiet interventions, Beijing is preventing a full-blown collapse. But this is a temporary fix. With over 10 trillion yen in repayments due by 2024, pressure is mounting. At some point, even China's grip might not be strong enough to stop the cracks from spreading. There's a reason the world, and especially countries like India, should pay attention. Growth without demand is a trap. Infrastructure should meet real needs, not just boost numbers. Transparency is everything. Hidden debt doesn't just hide risk, it multiplies it. Incentives shape outcomes. If leaders are rewarded for short-term growth, the long-term damage can be devastating. China's model shows us what happens when the system values performance over purpose. China's hidden debt crisis is more than a financial issue. It's a global cautionary tale. Whether China manages to restructure quietly or faces a harder landing remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, the world can't afford to look away. This isn't just about buildings and numbers. It's about trust, sustainability, and what kind of future we're all building. If this opens your eyes, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and make sure to subscribe because this story is far from over.